भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So this class, I think among all the classes, at least for me, it was the favorite class. I think some more people have come. Let's take a look, Shashank. And so I was very keen to resume this class as far as possible in a classroom format so that people can interact and ask questions. So if you remember, we were studying the Mandukya Karika in the Vedanta study group on these Wednesday classes. We used to have it in the afternoons. And before I left, we were able to complete most of it. We completed 3 chapters. So the Mandukya Karika, you know, the structure is, the core text is the Mandukya Upanishad, which is a very short but very powerful, very important Upanishad. So only 12 mantras. But on these 12 mantras, Gaudapada Acharya wrote his Karikas, a commentary in verse form. So that was in 4 chapters. The first chapter called Agama Prakarana. Agama means Upanishad. So the first chapter includes the Upanishad. So first chapter of Gaudapada's Mandukya Karika includes Mandukya Upanishad plus Gaudapada's commentary. The second chapter, Vaitatya Prakarana, is only the commentaries of Gaudapada Acharya with about 38 verses. The Upanishad is not there. Upanishad is finished in the first chapter. I think some more people have come. Yeah. Then the third chapter is called the Advaita Prakaranam, the chapter on non-duality. That also includes, that's also composed of Karikas made of Gaudapada Acharya. And the fourth chapter is the Alata Shanti Prakaranam. Alata Shanti means quenching the firebrand. Now, of these 4 chapters, we have completed the first 3. Chapter 1, 2 and 3, the first 3 Prakaranas are complete. Only the 4th Prakarana remains, and that is the largest. The most important teachings have already been given in the first, second and third Prakaranas. But we have to complete the whole text. So the 4th Prakarana is ahead of us. It's a very interesting chapter with a miscellany of very different topics. Many different philosophical views are taken up and considered by Gaudapada. Shankaracharya, he says about these 4 chapters together, Sarva Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhutam Idam Prakarana Chatushtayam Idam. These 4 chapters contain the essence of all Vedanta. So the entirety of Vedanta is in these 4 chapters. What I'm thinking of doing today is, since we did all this almost 1 year, practically 1 year ago, because we ended before summer last year, and to refresh our memories, what we will do is, in this class, that is today's class, we'll do a little revision, quick revision of what has the ground that has been covered. So today's class, I will talk about the Mandukya Upanishad itself, about the second chapter, that is the Vaitatya Prakaran, and we will stop there. We will discuss in between also. If you have any questions, you can raise that little blue hand, you go to that participants box at the bottom, and then you click on it, you will see there's an option, it will come up, option raise hand. So you raise hand and you can ask the question, Shashank will unmute you. And that you can do at any time. And once in a while, I'll also stop and see and ask if you have got any questions. If you cannot find that little raise hand icon, doesn't matter. There's a chat option. Just type it out that I want to ask a question, or type out the question itself. So Shashank will be constantly monitoring. If people want to ask questions, he will enable the voice audio. Chapter 1, it includes the Mandukya Upanishad. And the message of Vedanta, it's pretty simple actually. Vedanta can be this vast literature of Advaita Vedanta. It can be stated very simply. Even the one little syllable Om is the entire Vedanta is there. If you want a little more detail, then the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, that thou art, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. Or in this very Upanishad, in the Mandukya Upanishad, there is a Mahavakya, Ayam Atma Brahma, this very self is Brahman. So that contains the entirety of the message of Advaita Vedanta. If you want further expansion, then the Upanishad is there. The major Upanishads are there, which Shankaracharya has commented upon, and the entirety of the Upanishad, the Advaitic literature is there to explain this. So, in a very brief form, if you want, what is Vedanta? Om. Little bigger, Tattvamasi, or I am Atma Brahma. Your own self is the ultimate reality. If you want to understand what do you mean by Atma, what do you mean by Brahman, how do I know that my own self is Brahman, what is the result of this knowledge, all of that, then welcome to the Upanishad. So, in the Mandukya Upanishad, we remember, this is the first chapter of this Mandukya Karika. We remember the Upanishad said, Soyam Atma Chatushpad. This Atman itself is Brahman, I am Atma Brahma, Soyam Atma Chatushpad. This Atman, our self, has four aspects. Four aspects. What are these four aspects? We all know the waker, I the waker, and the world that I experience, the waking world. Jagrat Avastha, the waking stage, where there is a waker and a waking world. Then the second aspect of the self is the dreamer, that means I in my dream state, and the dream world that I experience, Swapna Avastha. Then there is a third state of our experience, third aspect of the Atman, which is Sushupti, deep sleep. So, I in the state of deep sleep and the blankness that I experience in deep sleep, that is Sushupti. Now, these three aspects are known to us, but so the Upanishad is not really about waking, dreaming or deep sleep. It's just using them to point out the fourth. So, what is that fourth? Gaudapada gives it a name, Turiyam, and Shankaracharya also uses the word Turiya. The word Turiya actually is not used in the Upanishad, original Upanishad. But Gaudapada uses the word Turiya, and that has become so well known in Advaita Vedanta. Turiya just means, in Sanskrit, Turiya just means four, number four. Four with respect to what? Waking is 1, dreamer is 2, deep sleeper is 3, and the fourth, the Turiyam, that's the real Atman, according to the Mandukya Upanishad. What is the nature of that fourth? We saw that in detail in the 7th mantra of this Mandukya Upanishad. The 7th mantra, don't get confused between Upanishad and Karika. Upanishad is the original text and the Karikas are the commentaries on that written by Gaudapada. In the Upanishad, which has 12 mantras, the 7th mantra talks about the real nature of the self, what we really are. And that's a very powerful mantra. I will repeat it here again. It goes something like this. Nanta pragyam na bhish pragyam, no bhayata pragyam na pragyana ghanam, na pragyam na pragyam, adrishtam abhyavaharyam, agrahyam alakshanam achintyam abhyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyasaram, prapancha upashamam shantam shivam advaitam, chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vigneyaha. What does it mean? That fourth is not the dreamer, nanta pragyam, where the awareness is turned inward in the mind, dream world. It's not that. It's not the waker, what we are right now. It's not that. It's not the deep sleeper, what we experience in deep sleep. It's not something in between. It's not that, it says, na pragyam. Shankaracharya says, pragyam here means the omniscience of God. Ishvara knows everything at once. So are you talking about God here? Not even that. Na pragyam, we are not talking about God who is omniscient. Shankaracharya comments there, yugapat sarva vishaya gyatritvam. That means knowing everything altogether. That is the capacity of Ishvara. Is that what is meant by Turiyam, our real nature? No. We are not talking about God here. So is it unconscious then? Apragya is no, not even unconscious. Adrishtam, literally it means it cannot be seen, but adrishtam is, it stands for not available to any of the sense organs. So the self cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, smelled, tasted, touched. So you cannot perceive it by sense organs. You cannot grasp it by the motor organs also. That means you cannot walk to it. Can I go on a pilgrimage to the Turiyam like you go to maybe Banaras or Tirupati or something? No. You cannot grasp it by motor organs. Can it be put to some use? Avyavaharyam. It does not enter into any particular transaction. You cannot use it to attain something else. Then can you conceive of it? Can you think about it? Can you speak about it? Achintyam abhyapadeshyam. Abhyapadeshyam means it is not something that can be expressed in language. You might say for something that cannot be expressed in language, you sure are speaking a lot. Well, there are different strategies to get around this. Words cannot directly denote it. But for example, if you cannot say something what it is directly, you can always say that what it is not. Neti neti, it is not this, it is not that. That's one strategy. There are 5 different strategies, but we will not go into that. How the Upanishad, after all, Upanishads are only language, they are words. And if you say the ultimate reality cannot be expressed in words, then what is the Upanishad to do? What will it do then? What option does it have? So they have evolved different strategies. How to express something that cannot be expressed. One is this, not this, neti neti, by saying what it is not. If you cannot say what it is, you can say what it is not. Another way is by paradox, higher than the further than the farthest, nearer than the nearest, larger than the largest, smaller than the smallest, using paradoxical language. There are other ways, by implied language, different ways of about 4 or 5 different strategies the Upanishads use. So, abhyapadeshyam. Then, can it be inferred? Can we use logic and reasoning to find it out? No, it cannot be inferred. There are reasons why. Inference means that I see something and infer something else. Like the classic example of there is fire on the hill because of smoke. So, we know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So, when we see smoke and we do not see fire, we can always infer that there must be fire there. That's why there is smoke. And that's how the fire brigade, the rushes of the fire station knows that there is fire going on because it can see smoke in the skyline somewhere. Can you infer the ultimate reality like that? You cannot. And there are technical reasons why you cannot. Ekatma pratyasaram. So now the Upanishad gives a positive approach. So you have told us till now what it is not. Then what is that ultimate reality? The positive approach is this, that this sense of I, aham, I, if you trace it back, this was Ramana Maharshi's special method, the who am I, the inquiry of who am I. If you trace it back to its source, it will point towards the real self, the fourth. Prapanchopashamam. Very beautiful word. It means there in our real self there is the negation, the disappearance, the silence of the universe. The universe is not there. Prapancha means that which is made of 5 elements. This entire cosmos is made of 5 elements in the ancient cosmology. So that is not there. That does not exist in the ultimate truth. Prapanchopashamam. Advaita Vedanta in brief can be described as Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman is real and the world is an appearance. So this Prapanchopashamam word, it means that the appearance nature of the world is an appearance, it's not a reality by itself. Shantam, it is peaceful, it is beyond all suffering. So it's beyond the coronavirus, so there's no coronavirus in the Turiyam. Shantam, Shivam. It is auspicious, it is bliss. It is fulfillment, what we are looking for in the waking and the dreaming states, and potentially what goes into the deep sleep. So, in the three worlds, that is waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, we are chasing something, fulfillment, that's not available there, but it's available in our real nature. Shivam is fulfillment, Ananda, auspiciousness. Advaitam, non dual. That fourth is actually not the fourth, it is the one. You see, first, second, and third, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, they are not to be counted. They are not a second reality apart from the Turiya. Turiya is non dual. Non dual means no second. There is nothing else apart from it. What happened to the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep? They are appearances, they are not realities. The reality is only Turiya. And I have given the example. The classic example is gold and the ornaments, for example. So, if there are three ornaments, like a ring or a tiara or a bracelet, and then somebody tells you about gold, the fourth. First of all, gold is not an ornament. It is the material out of which the ornaments are made. And from the point of view of gold, there is only one. You cannot count a tiara and a bracelet and a ring and gold. They are not four things. There is only one thing, that is gold. If you want to count the ornaments, three ornaments. If you want to count the gold, only one. Similarly, if you want to count the fourth, that is the pure consciousness of the Atman, there is only one, non-dual. There is no second thing apart from it. Advaitam. Then why is it called the fourth? It is called the fourth only when you are counting as waking, dreaming, deep sleep, real self. 1, 2, 3, 4. But really it is not the fourth. Chaturtham manyante. People in ignorance think that there is a fourth reality called the Atman. But actually the Atman is the only reality. The self is the only reality which appears as you the waker and your waking world, you the dreamer and your dream world, you the deep sleeper and the potential darkness of deep sleep. So what is all this what does it have to do with me? Sa Atma, that is the self, it's you, we are talking about you. That's why Advaita is so interesting, it's about us, it's our real nature. Savigneya, this has to be realized, not just read about, not just theorized about, but as a living realization. Why? Because then only we overcome sorrow and suffering and permanently safe beyond the sufferings of the world. That is the final solution for coronavirus. A vaccine is temporary solution. So everything else, all kinds of suffering, they come to an end when you realize your nature as that non-dual self. This has to be realized. So this is the first chapter. One more thing I should add, that first chapter, it gives you a meditation on Om. It's basically, the whole chapter is written as an explanation of Om. Om, you remember, can be thought of as four aspects. A, U, M. If you combine them together, it becomes Om. A and U, the two syllables A and U together becomes O by the rules of Sanskrit grammar, and Ma or put them together, O, becomes Om, and the silence after that. So that's the fourth aspect. First aspect A, second aspect U, third aspect and the fourth one is the silence after each chanting of the Om. And then the Upanishad correlates these four aspects with the four aspects of the self. A with the waker, U with the dreamer, with the deep sleeper, and the silence with the Turiyam. And this is a method like a shorthand. You can think of the Mandukya Upanishad as an explanation of Om. What does Om mean, if you want to say? Not just a mantra to be chanted, not just for meditation or for concentration, for calming the mind, but also philosophically, what does Om mean? So it means this Mandukya Upanishad, what it is saying. So that was the first chapter. Do we have any responses so far, or are people... okay, so we have one person who raised a hand, Arjun Rathore.
Yeah, Pranam Maharaj.
Namaskar.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I have one confusion. Is Brahman totally oblivious of the unreal? Basically, if I have a movie screen, it's unaware of the movie. It is not conscious.
Yes.
Same with the space.
Hmm.
But I'm aware of my dream.
Yes.
So that's where my confusion is.
Correct.
Because the Brahman is Chit.
Yes. The simple answer to this is, are you unaware of your experiences? Of course not. Otherwise, it wouldn't be your experiences. And you are Brahman. So, Brahman is not unaware of its own manifestations. Brahman is certainly aware of its own manifestations. How? This question arises because we think of Brahman as something mysterious, powerful, wonderful. But just think about yourself. So, Brahman, when it does not know, when the unenlightened Jiva, who is really Brahman, is the Jiva aware? Yes. It's aware of what? Waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And when that Jiva becomes enlightened means what? I am Brahman, I am Atma Brahma. I am that reality which underlies all three states. Then also, the same Brahman, the same Turiya, through the Jiva nature, body, mind, which are still there. Now other people will call you Jivan Mukta. Earlier people were saying he is an ordinary fellow. But now they will say, oh, Arjun is Jivan Mukta. What does Arjun now see? I am Brahman, and here, through this mind and body, eyes are still seeing forms, ears are still hearing sounds, you are still tasting, touching, all those things are there, but you realize that everything is I, the pure consciousness, appearing in all these ways. So, whether in the state of unenlightenment or in the state of enlightenment, Brahman is always aware. So, Brahman is it's consciousness itself. There is no question of it not being aware. It's either aware of its manifestations in waking and dreaming, or aware of the resolved state of manifestations in deep sleep. Same Brahman with the upadhi of Maya now appears as Ishvara. So, Ishvara is aware of the entire universe, is aware of the entire physical universe, entire mental universe, and of blankness, of the entire resolved universe in the state of pralaya. So, Brahman is always aware. Yes, that's a. Can we have two more questions, I think. Can unmute them.
I unmuted Prabir Basu.
Prabir Basu, yes.
Brahm, I have a question.
Yes.
We call consciousness, awareness is the same thing. But when Ramana Maharshi speaks about I, what is the I that right now I am with body and mind? And also I'm confused about what the consciousness that Visargadatta says, when his consciousness does not match with.
Yes, correct. So please don't get confused with the terminology. Different people use different terminology, but they mean the same thing. For example, in Nisargadatta's case, a lot of people get confused because awareness and consciousness, two words are constantly used in Nisargadatta's books. Remember, they were translated from Marathi. So, he was speaking in Marathi, and those were the words that he used were translated into awareness and consciousness. But don't get confused in that. That ultimate awareness, consciousness, whatever you call it, is the nature of the Atman. Through the mind and the sense organs, it becomes this empirical awareness. So, this awareness which we have right now is not that pure consciousness. It is that pure consciousness working through the mind. So, when the pure consciousness appears in the mind, that awareness which we feel right now, that is called Chidabhasa, reflection of that awareness, reflection of the original awareness. That Chidabhasa illumines the mind, and through the illumined mind, the sense organs are also illumined. So, we get the conscious experience of thinking and seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting. So, this is what you might call empirical awareness. Nisargadatta calls it consciousness, and the original consciousness, Nisargadatta calls it awareness, but in the translation only. I, when he says I, Ramana Maharshi says I, that I which we feel right now, it is this ahankara only, but this ahankara itself is not the reality. But when you trace this ahankara, behind the ahankara is that consciousness. So, the ahankara points to that consciousness. So, when you say aham brahmasmi, it is not that the ahankara is Brahman. It points to the real nature behind the ahankara, which is the Turiyam. Those whose questions have been answered, there's also a way of lowering the hand, because otherwise your hand will still be up. Okay, I'll take one more question if you have one more for me, Shashank. Shashank, can you hear? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pranam Swamiji.
Namaskar.
My question is, you said about the silence after Om. Did you say that that is same as the Turiya?
Yes. The silence after Om. Remember, A, U, Ma. They are used to represent the waking, dreaming and deep sleep. And the silence is used to represent the Turiya. So, Om becomes like a shorthand. When you recite Om or think of Om, the entire teaching of the Mandukya Upanishad comes there. So, that's one level of understanding. But there is a deeper level. There is no time to explain this. You have to go back to the first chapter's teachings. By the way, this is a good time to point out all the classes which we had are now publicly available on SoundCloud. So, if you search SoundCloud Sarvapriyananda, I can send you the link also. So, all of them are there. All the classes, if you want to do detailed revision, if you have the patience to do that, all those classes are there. I am going to give you the link in yes, in the chat. So, all those classes will be there. There you will see, I will just give you a hint here. The silence not only represents Turiya, but this may be confusing, but in a deep sense it is the Turiya. Then you do not have to, then the silence is not the physical silence. So, silence has two aspects. One is the ordinary silence, which is the absence of sound. So, it is very noisy, then all noise stops, it is very quiet, oh, you say silence. But that is the absence of sound. There is another silence which underlies the presence and the absence of sound. It is always there. Turiya is the witness of that silence. See, silence, which is the constant silence which underlies sound and the absence of sound, if you think about that, you will come, it will point straight to you, the consciousness. It is something experiential. So, the silence is not only representative of Turiya, Turiya is that silence. But that silence is not just physical absence of sound, it is consciousness itself. Okay, let us now, today, by the way, I am a little bit in a hurry. So, I will have the class for 1 hour as stated. Next week onwards, we will take the class on till 9 o'clock. So, 7:30 to 9 approximately. That is the how we used to do in the Wednesday afternoons, about 1.5 hours, so it gives us enough time. At 9 o'clock Eastern time. I know there are people from other parts of the United States and a few from India, which is very early for people in India. So, next week onwards we will take more time. The reason I am a little bit of hurry today is that I have another class today which I had committed to earlier, a group in San Diego. And there are approximately, I hear there are 1,000 people waiting on Zoom. So, that is a class later tonight. All right. I will also do a little revision of the second chapter. So, today we will go up to the second chapter, take a few more questions, whatever you would like to ask, and then we will stop. And next class, next Wednesday, we will take up a little revision, short revision of the third chapter and start the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter is Alata Shanti Prakarana, which is what we are supposed to do. So, next time we will start that one and a little short revision of the third chapter. So, there is a question, how do you lower the hand? So, you go to the hand on your screen, and when your cursor goes there, you will see there is a little thing that lower hand. So, it will go down by itself. But Pravir Babu, your hand is already lowered, so don't worry. Others, hold on to your questions. We will see if we have time then to have those questions. Second chapter. Second chapter is called Vaitathya Prakaranam. The word Vaitathya comes from, Vaitathya means falsity. So, Vitatha, Tatha means as such or as it is in Sanskrit, Tatha. Vitatha means not as it is, means false. Tatha means as it is, means as it is really, and Vitatha means not as it is really, so false. Vaitathya means falsity. So the chapter which tries to show the falsity of the universe. Why did this chapter suddenly come up? Remember, in the 7th mantra we saw a word, prapanchopashama. Prapanchopashama, the silence of the universe, or the disappearance of the universe in your real nature. And that would be nice actually, it would be very restful if the universe along with coronavirus disappears for some time at least. In your real nature, the universe is an appearance, it's not a reality. Now, how do you prove that? This is an important topic in Advaita Vedanta, because Advaita Vedanta, as I said, you can express it in the famous phrase, half a sentence, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jiva Brahmeva Napara. Brahman is the ultimate reality, the world is an appearance. What about me? Am I real or false? You are Brahman, you are that ultimate reality. Jiva Brahmeva Napara. Now that second part of it, the world is an appearance, the world is not real. Some people love it, wonderful, that's what I always felt. Some people get very upset. What do you mean world is not real? But there is a technical meaning to it. What does it mean, mithya, falsity? Falsity does not mean completely unreal. What do I mean by completely unreal? Completely unreal in Sanskrit is called asat or tuchya. That which does not exist and does not appear. It does not exist, like a square circle. It does not exist. There are no square circles. And it does not appear also. You cannot see it. Nobody has ever seen a square circle. You can't see it. It's an impossible thing. So in Sanskrit, classic examples are, they have the Akasha Kusuma, sky flower, a flower in the sky. It doesn't exist. No such flower. There are flowers and there is the sky, but there is no sky flower. Rabbit's horns, Shashashringa. That means the rabbit doesn't have horns, but it's an example of something that does not exist and nobody has ever seen it. Then there is that which does not exist, but you see it. So error or illusion or dreams. So for example, the snake is not there, it's a rope, but you see it as a snake. By mistake, error. Or the water is not there in the desert, but you see it, it's a mirage. But you see water there, by mistake. So that is called mithya or false. Now Advaita Vedanta claims that this world which we are experiencing is like that. It's a very radical, shocking claim. It's like what? Like the water in the desert looks like that, but is actually not there. Like the snake seen by mistake in the rope looks like a snake, but actually is not a snake. Like what we see in dreams, it seems to be real, but when you wake up, you see, oh, it was all a dream. Like the blue color in the sky, it seems to be blue, but the sky is actually not blue. It's an optical illusion. It's an effect of light. So, world is like that. The world which we consider to be real is like a dream. Gaudapada uses the 2nd chapter to prove that using reasoning. Not just because the Upanishads say something, not because scriptures say something, but by reasoning so that we can all understand why the world is an appearance. So I'll quickly run through what we did in the 2nd chapter, the core arguments. What Gaudapada does is, in this entire chapter, he tries to show that the waking state is also like the dream state. Waking state is like the dream state. In what sense? Because see, world is false. When you say world is false, in the language of Mandukya Upanishad, what does it mean? It means that the 3 states are false: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. World, what is the world in the Mandukya Upanishad? World in the Mandukya Upanishad is the entire waking world, plus whatever you dream about, plus the blankness of deep sleep, the potential state of deep sleep. The entire waking world is called the gross or the physical world. The entire dream world is called the subtle world, what is in our minds. And the deep sleep is called the causal state. Gross, subtle and causal states, all are false. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, all 3 are false. And to show this, Gaudapada, in his arguments, he takes the example of the dream. Why the dream state? Because in general we accept what we saw in the dream is false. We don't say that what we saw in the dream is true. So, children have, for example, I was just thinking, children sometimes have imaginary friends. And the parents know that that's an imaginary friend, that the child imagines the friend, it does not exist. So you cannot say that my son or daughter has 10 friends, 9 real ones and 1 imaginary one. No. So you have to say that the son or the daughter has 9 friends. That imaginary friend does not exist. You cannot count it along with the other friends. Similarly, whatever happens in dreams, events, people we meet, objects that we find in the dream state, they do not exist in the waking. They are all in the mind. Gaudapada takes up this in the first 3 verses. What Gaudapada does is he establishes that whatever we experience in dream is in fact false, because he's going to use that as an example. So let's be all on the same page. After going ahead, somebody should not come up and say that, but dreams are also real. No, dreams are false. So to establish that, he shows the reasons. The style of argumentation in Vedanta is Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. Shruti means you have to give relevant quotations from the Upanishads. Yukti means reasoning. Anubhuti means experience. Show by reasoning and experience and from the Upanishads what you are arguing is true. Dream is false. Why? What's the reason? He says, because what you experience in dream cannot be there because of inappropriate or inadequate time and space. What does that mean? If you remember, we did it last year. So you see an elephant, or you see, I see Central Park. I'm walking and I get up in the morning and I see, oh, it was a dream. Now, Central Park was not there because that Central Park I saw it was in the dream. Why? If it's in my mind, in this little head, the whole of Central Park cannot exist. It's impossible. There isn't adequate space. Even if you meet the shortest person on earth, still there's not enough space for that person to be inside your head. Basically, he's giving a very simple argument. All the things and places and objects we see in our dream, they actually cannot exist inside the head. Inadequate space. Inappropriate time. So I dreamt I was in Belur Mutt in India, and then when I wake up in the morning, I say that no, that's impossible. It must have been a dream. Although it was very vivid, I really couldn't have gone to Belur Mutt. There's not enough time. I went to sleep late last night, woke up early this morning. There wasn't enough time for me to go to that place and come back. Time does not match. Space does not match. So for these reasons, dreams are false. And experience also shows it. The moment you wake up, you dreamt you met your best friend in your dream. But if you ask your friend, he'll say, no, we didn't meet. So your waking experience cancels your dream experiences. What you are having pizza and you put it in your refrigerator, and in your dream you woke up and ate the pizza from your refrigerator. In the morning, your experience shows, no, you have not eaten it. It's still there in the refrigerator. So your waking experience cancels your dream experiences. Therefore, they must have been false. And he gives relevant quotations from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad to show that dream experiences are false. Basically, basically he establishes what you experience in dream. He does not say that you did not dream. You dreamt. But what you experienced in dream and what you thought during your dream was real is not real. It's cancelled when you wake up. Similarly, just as the things you experience in dream are not real, similarly, now is what the main argument he wants to present. Similarly, what we experience in our waking state is also unreal. Why? We will say, that's a stunning claim. Can you argue it out? Yes, he says. He gives 2 reasons. This is very important, the essence of Gaudapada's argument in the 2nd chapter. 2 reasons. The first reason he says, by the well-known reason. If you remember, we did it last year. He says infuriatingly, because of the well-known reason, waking things are false. Prasiddheneva hetuna. What is this well-known reason? The well-known reason is not at all well-known. Maybe it was well-known to him, but it's, thank God we have the commentaries of Shankaracharya on all of this, so we understand what he meant. The reason is this, two reasons to show that the waking world is as false as the dream world, or is false like the dream world. First one, that which is an object to consciousness must be an appearance. That which is an object, drishya, must be an appearance, must be false. Drishyatvat mithya, false because it is an object. This sounds outrageous. You know what the argument is? The argument is, just as you saw the snake on the rope, or the water in the desert, or the blue color in the sky, you saw them, but you know that they are false. Similarly, you see the rest of the world and you know it is false. How? Because for the first time I heard this, I remember asking the teacher, no, the argument does not follow. We see the snake and then we correct it and say that, oh, it's a rope. I saw the snake, but now I say it's false. But I see the rope and I don't say that the rope is false. It's true that I see sometimes erroneously, I see illusions and they are false, but I see so many real things also. So just seeing itself does not make something false. That's incredible. We can't believe this. But this is that Jewish word chutzpah, the cheekiness, the radical nature of Advaita. There's a logic to this. What is the logic? Is this. A thing is real if it exists by itself. So for example, why are the things in the dream not real? Because you realize they were entirely in your imagination. They really did not exist outside. Normally when we look at the world, I'm eating a piece of bread. I don't think that the bread is in my mind. I'm thinking about the bread and I'm eating it, I'm enjoying it, but I also think it's really out there. I can touch it and see it, and it's something out there which I am now eating. Now, if it does not exist, if it exists only in the imagination, we call it false. It does not exist outside. What Gaudapada is arguing is, all that we see and experience, we experience it in consciousness. Without consciousness, you cannot experience it. Where is the proof that the objects that we experience exist apart from consciousness, exist by themselves, exist independently? You cannot prove it. To prove it, you need consciousness. Whenever you experience something, after all, what is experience? Consciousness illumining something. So even a waking state experience, like say this pen. So I am awareness working through the mind and through the eyes sees this pen. But this pen is appearing to me in consciousness. Is it ever possible for me to prove that this pen is real? I have to show that it can be experienced apart from consciousness. But that's technically impossible, that's literally impossible. Experience means consciousness has to be there. Do you see the argument? Without consciousness, no experience. Without experience, no proof of this pen. So, it's a subtle argument. It took me a long time to get what was meant, but it's a very stunning argument. Everything in our universe, whatever we think, it's all we are thinking in awareness. So, apart from awareness, there is no proof of anything. And there is no proof of it, what's the use of talking about it? So he says, because it's an object to consciousness, therefore it must be false. Drishyatvat mithya. What a stunning claim. You see why it's so stunning? When do we say something is real? When it is an object to our consciousness, we say it's real. We see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. Therefore it is real. Gaudapada is saying, therefore it is false. Because apart from consciousness, you cannot conceive of an object. You see, an object is an object to consciousness. Okay, so this is one reason. It's worth thinking about. The second reason is similar to this. It says anityatvat. Because of the non-eternal, the transitory nature of everything. Now, what does he mean by this? That which does not exist earlier, which comes into being and afterwards does not exist again, it cannot be real. And that's the nature of everything in this universe. Did not exist at one time, was born, exists now, and disappears afterwards. But Gaudapada says, even when it seems to exist, it does not exist. It's an appearance, it's false. Why? This is the concept of borrowed existence. Anything that is borrowed will come and go. I've given the example of, say, a hot stove. you're cooking a potato, so hot potato. But the potato is not hot by itself. It has borrowed its heat from the boiling water. The water is not hot by itself. It's borrowed its heat from the hot saucepan. The saucepan is not hot by itself. It has borrowed its heat from fire. But the fire is hot by itself. As long as the fire is there, it will be hot. What is the difference? You will notice saucepan, boiling water or potato, they are hot now. After some time, they will not be hot. Before this, they were not hot. They gain and lose heat. Why do they gain and lose heat? Because that heat they have is borrowed heat. It's not their own. So the very sign of not having its own heat is that it's sometimes hot, sometimes not hot. But the fire is always hot because fire is intrinsically hot. This is an example. Now, suppose existence were borrowed, then what would happen? Remember, heat is borrowed means sometimes cold, sometimes hot. Cold becomes hot, again becomes cold. That is borrowed, that shows it is borrowed heat. Borrowed existence, it will mean that sometimes that it did not exist, comes into existence, disappears from existence, it goes away. So, being born and dying, created and destroyed, that is a sign of borrowed existence. So, what does that mean? So, what? Everything in the universe is like that. It is born and it's destroyed, created and destroyed, born and it dies. That means everything in the universe has borrowed existence. So, what? If it has borrowed existence, the existence, it must have borrowed it from something. Does not have existence of its own. Not having existence of its own, depending on something else for its existence, that is the definition of falsity, mithya. It cannot exist by itself. Imagine, just think, that false snake, it depends on the rope for its existence. The water in the desert, the mirage, it depends on the optical illusion and the heat and the in the air for its appearance. All the dream objects and persons, it depends upon your mind for their existence. Similarly, this entirety of the universe, it depends on Brahman, on you, on the consciousness for its existence, because it cannot exist apart from you, the consciousness. Therefore, all the objects are false. So, two reasons he has given to show all the objects in the waking state are as unreal as objects in the dream state. Before I take questions, Gaudapada, he handles some objections. See, you are trying to reduce waking state into dream state. Normally, we don't think like this. Well, that's why it's Vedanta, that's why it's shocking. If you thought about it normally, I was just reading Bertrand Russell today. Common sense. He says common sense is the metaphysics of savages. If it goes against common sense, common sense he dismisses. It's the metaphysics of savages. Yes. So Vedanta says something that's completely against common sense. Our common sense tells us waking is real, dream is false. Gaudapada's Vedanta, it's a little advanced, Mandukya Karika. It says waking and dreaming are not different. Immediate objection, like the Purva Pakshas, they would have raised a little blue hand like this. Question, if they had Zoom in those days. What is the question? 4 questions and quick answers. You will begin to see what Gaudapada says. One question. No, dream object and waking object cannot be the same, because waking objects are useful, dream objects are not useful. I have got a pizza in my fridge. In reality, if I eat it, my hunger will be satisfied, but a pizza in the dream will not satisfy my hunger. Water in the dream will not quench my thirst. Real water in the waking state will quench my thirst. Very easy answer. Gaudapada says, in the dream, if you feel hungry, then only dream pizza will satisfy your dream hunger. All the pizza from Domino's will not satisfy your hunger in the dream. If you feel thirsty in the dream, there will be water which you drink. All of it is in the dream, but that that quenches your thirst. So, utility, objects in the dream have utility in the dream. Objects in the waking have utility in the waking state, not among each other. Therefore, you cannot say utility is the sign of reality. Some Buddhist schools use this. Artha kriya karitvam. Practical efficacy is the mark of reality. But this argument shows in dream state, suppose you say practical efficacy is the mark of reality. Then in dream I feel thirsty, I drink water in the dream, then the dream water will become real because it quenched my thirst. Then on the opposite, water in the waking state, it's there by my bedside and I'm in the dream, I'm sleeping and feeling very thirsty in my dream, and then in the waking state there is water near my bed but I'm not aware of it, so that water cannot quench my thirst on the dream thirst. So if it cannot quench my dream thirst, then the waking water becomes unreal. You can see how you can reverse that logic. Second objection, what you see in the dream is vague. It is mental, it's vague. In the waking state, you can clearly see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Same argument can be given. In the dream, it's an unfair comparison to bring your dream memories back into the waking and then try to compare. No. In the waking dream state, when you experience those objects in the dream, they seemed very real, very clear. Now in the waking state, they seem unclear. So clarity is a matter of being in that state and perceiving. Third objection would be, see, there is a difference between internal and external. Right now, suppose for example, here is a pen. This pen is external, it is real. Now I am thinking about the pen. That pen is internal, it is unreal. Similarly, dreams are internal, unreal, but waking world is out there, it is real. No. In the dream, same argument, in the dream, you will see the distinction between internal and external also happens. Why? In the dream, you are there and talking to your friend, and also mentally you are thinking about something. So there is an internal and an external in the dream, though the whole thing is internal. When you wake up, you see the whole thing is internal. In the dream also mental activity goes on and senses are also active. You can see, hear, smell, or it seems like that. So internal and external distinction does not make a distinction between waking and dream. Both are there in both states. Then the last one is public availability. So you dream about something. You go and say share a cup of coffee with your friend. In the morning, your friend will say, no, we did not share the cup of coffee. But in the waking state, if you go and have a cup of coffee with your friend will say, yes, we had. So that cup of coffee which you had in the waking state, that's publicly available. Other people also see it. But what you see in your dream, only you see it. So that is unreal, and what everybody sees, that is real. Seems convincing. But Gaudapada will give you the same answer. In the dream also, there are certain things which everybody sees. In your dream, you are walking around in the park and you see a beautiful lake. Now, everybody in your dream is seeing that lake, or the people who are there in that dream. So, there is an illusion of public awareness there, of something publicly available. Similarly, in the waking state, you cannot say that is a sign of reality. Okay, I'll stop. There are a number of questions. You can unmute them one by one.
Unmute Nitin.
Yes, Nitin.
I had a question. Brahman, I am Brahman and I am having a dream experience right now through the first person point of view of this Jiva.
Yes.
I, Brahman, also have deep sleep experience.
Yes.
And a Jiva is asleep. My question is, I, Brahman, do I ever have a waking experience?
Certainly.
And, what is it like?
See, the waking experience will be exactly like this. What you are saying is that after...
What I think is this waking is also a dream experience for Brahman.
Yes, correct.
So beyond this dream and deep sleep experiences that we experience in this relative.
Okay, I understand. Here we will make a short, like a little distinction. Gaudapada introduces a further innovation. He says, if the waking state and dream states cannot be distinguished, both are appearances, then why say that there are three states? He says, why not say there are only two states? Dreaming and deep sleep. Dreaming and deep sleep. What is dreaming? Waking is also dreaming, dreaming is also dreaming. So first two states, Gaudapada calls them dream. And the third state, deep sleep, Gaudapada calls it sleep. And all are in ignorance. When you are enlightened, the appearance of manifestation in Turiya and the disappearance of manifestation, you will see that I am Brahman and this world appears in waking and dreaming, both are appearances, it's all Turiya, and then it dissolves back into a blankness, into a seed state, that is deep sleep or samadhi. That will be the enlightened person's perspective. Right.
So that sounds like more like lucid dreaming, where I'm aware that I'm dreaming. as an enlightened person, I'm aware that whatever this waking world is none other than a dream experience.
Correct, bit like that. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Stay well and stay safe, all of you.